Money FM 89.3. Best of breakfast. Companies to watch.
Good morning. Well, if you're shopping for some stocks and wondering whether the names making headlines are worth adding to your cart, we're here to help you out with companies to watch, and we're checking out with our very own Dan Cole.
Good morning, Audrey.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Had a blast of the weekend. How was the week?
It was
been
pretty
so far?
good. Happy to have companies to watch again today.
That's right. So let's dive right into the segment where we spotlight and stock you up with ideas of listed companies that calls for your attention. We're looking at market trends to risks, hidden gems, and warning signs to steer clear of. 8855-0893. Text us and tell us whether you think it's going to be a hot or not. Okay, Audrey. Let's talk about the homegrown leading global consumer internet company.
Okay.
Have you used Shopee?
Of course. Yesterday, yes.
Fantastic.
The day before, yes.
Have you ever played on the gaming platform Garena?
Okay, no, that one, no.
Okay, that's fine. Have you ever dabbled in SeaMoney for digital payments, perhaps?
No, but I think I use Shopee so much that I kind of override the other two.
Perhaps. And the reason why I brought all these names to our attention today is because we're talking about Seek, S-E-A, a company that was started in Singapore back in 2009, first as a gaming firm. But its big breakthrough came with Shopee, the e-commerce platform that Audrey is a huge fan of.
Yeah, and many people, right?
Yep, and turned online shopping into essentially a lifestyle. I think the fact that it make shopping just so easy and convenient, and how, it's pretty much offering you with tons of products that you might not even know you need.
That's true. And I wanted to be honest, when I first saw SEA, I thought that it was specific to Southeast Asia. Because SEA, right?
Yeah.
But it isn't just strong in this region. Shopee has cracked markets like Brazil, Mexico, Chile, and it's also now one of the top shopping apps over in Latin America. So this kind of international footprint is part of why I think global investors see as more than just a regional play. Right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they've certainly placed their mark in the international stage. So from flash sales at midnight to $1 deals and free shipping, it's certainly become a default mall in our pockets. But it wasn't exactly always smooth sailing for Seek. In fact, they spent several years burning cash, chasing growth, and investors weren't exactly sure if it would ever be profitable. But then came a sharp pivot by cutting costs, streamlining operations, and focusing on making money, not just spending it. It seems like the new strategy worked. In fact, the company that once looked like Southeast Asia's, Amazon meets Tencent hybrid, they've eventually turned profitable, and the stock came roaring back. So it's made the spotlight just recently as well, because Seek has just overtaken DBS Group Holdings to reclaim its title as Southeast Asia's most valuable publicly listed company.
Wow, yeah, that's big news.
Yeah, so it surpassed DBS after a 300% comeback rally that's powered by its e-commerce arm, Shopee. Market cap stood at about $111 billion US, with shares rising up as much as 1.1% in New York overnight. Just hours later, DBS finished about 0.6% lower in Singapore for a valuation of $110.3 billion. That's officially ceding the top spot to Seek. But it isn't exactly the first time it made to the top spot. They initially became Southeast Asia's most valuable publicly traded company back in 2020 and early 2021.
Okay.
But it took them quite a while, almost about 4 years, to eventually sort back up and to regain its status as, one of the biggest players and market capitalization companies here in Southeast Asia. So first thoughts, Audrey, what do you make of their latest news as one of the most valuable, if not the most valuable, publicly listed company here?
I think it's huge. And, you have laid out really well, like their growth from 2020 and beyond until today. Back in 2022, I do remember Shopee or Seek making news because its CEO, Forrest Li, very famously did a whole, I'm only going to take $1 in salary as compensation.
Yes.
Do you remember this?
Yeah.
To show investors that he was serious about turning the ship around. And this kind of leadership, I feel, has helped restore confidence when shares were tanking. And now that's back up on the up and up. I think that's great news for the company as a whole.
Yeah, fantastic. So then how exactly did it reclaim its spot report, you may ask? Because it did lose its title to, some of the Southeast Asian giants like Indonesian lender PT Bank Central Asia. So basically, Shopee remains the crown jewel dominating e-commerce throughout Southeast Asia and Latin America. In August, Siek reported record sales that topped estimates, signaling that it is succeeding in fending off hard-charging rivals, including ByteDance's TikTok and Alibaba Group Holdings' Lazada.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have seen and used those platforms before, have you?
I do use Lazada, not so much TikTok, but I think C's secret weapon here is the logistics arm, right? SPS Express.
Yeah.
And I think this gives it a major edge against like TikTok and Temu because they still rely very heavily on third-party logistics. And so C's control over its own delivery network means lower costs and faster service. And that's why customers rely on Shopee so much, I think.
Yeah, that's quite a good reason as to why on how they've been able to, just target the region of more than 675 million people, loyal customers as well.
Yeah.
And also a brutal cost-cutting drive that certainly helped CEO Forrest Li bring the company back to profitability. So the company's push into digital finance, payments, credit, financial services, they've also given it and turned it into a new growth engine that's convincing investors of its long-term earnings potential. And yes, SPS Express is the one key secret ingredient of their growth. So if we look at how they've performed just lately in their earnings report, earlier this month, the company reported a more than 400% increase in the second quarter for its earnings for the year from the year ago period. The jump in its earnings was driven largely by its 38.2% revenue growth. Revenue for Shopee grew 33.6%. Money sales grew 70% in the second quarter, and its gaming division, Garena, increased by 23.2%. So it does seem like, it has certainly been playing out quite nicely here in Southeast Asia, and Shopee has pretty much, planted its ground and its dominance as one of the biggest e-commerce players here.
Yeah. And so, but just playing devil's advocate here, there's a lot of regulation changes and shifting consumer habits. So those all could be challenges ahead as well. So we'll have to see how this goes, right?
Yes, for sure. But for now, years of investment in its online offerings and delivery operations has helped Sea retain its popularity. And I believe that in time to come, that is likely to, continue to bring them perhaps more profits as people like yourself spend more on Shopee.
Oh, yeah.
So having considered all those factors, I guess, the big question would be whether they're going to set to continue their new era of dominance. And at least for me, I'm probably going to go with a verdict of a heart.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Add it to the cart, right?
Yep, add it to the cart.
Yeah, well, I think that I would join you there. I think that C looks like a solid play for now, especially for the long-term investors. It's pretty much a hot for me as well.
All right. As of the 27th of August, we've got Tip Ranks, Yahoo, and Barron's all giving it a buy rating.
Okay.
And that pretty much wraps it up for analysis of today's Stock in Focus, C. Now, Audrey, here's some fun facts about C. Did you know that C wasn't actually always called C?
Oh, really? What was it called? Ocean.
Yeah. If you paid attention earlier, it was actually called Garena back in 2009.
Oh, okay.
Short for Global Arena, a platform for gamers. So the pivot to C came later in 2017 when the company wanted a name that reflected its broader ambitions beyond gaming, like e-commerce and fintech. So what did C say to DBS?
See you later.
Very good, Audrey. And that's all we have for C.
Before acting on the information on Money FM, please consider if it's suitable for your own investment objectives, financial situation, and risk tolerance. To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.